We'll start off with the first place Baltimore Ravens from this season. Big offseason for them. As Ziggy and I were talking before the show, just a laundry list of potential free agents or soon-to-be free agents for Baltimore coming up. A lot of fun conversations to have with them too here. But just to name some of the guys, Odell, free agent. Kevin Ziegler, the guard, who a lot of people thought would be back. Patrick Queen, Jadeveon Clowney, Geno Stone, Ronald Darby, J.K. Dobbins, Justin Matabuke. Like, you could go down and down and down the list here. Just a lot of people. Brock Yassin, a lot of guys for the Ravens that they need to make decisions on to bring back to a really competitive, one of the better Ravens teams we've seen in the 2010, 2020s kind of Ravens timeline. Ziggy, when you look at the Ravens here and you see all these guys, this laundry list, do you think that they have a lot of, is there a lot of work to do to make this team competitive again? Or I think that they're going to get a lot of these deals done and be in good shape for next year.
They'll get to keep some of those guys. There's no question. In particular, Metabuke, I think, is going to catch a franchise tag. But there's two problems. One is you left off, I think, the biggest departure, Mike McDonald, right? Defensive coordinator leaving, going to the Seahawks. He brought with him Ravens defensive back coach. No, he didn't go with him. He went to the Titans, Dennard Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
And the Ravens defensive backs, as anyone knows, have been one of the best units consistently in the league. So those are big losses. And the other thing is the Ravens they don't just need to not get worse, they need to improve, right? Year after year, this Ravens team, it seems they haven't been able to get it done. Losing in the wild card or the divisional round has been very difficult for them to proceed. It's not going to be enough for them to just stay steady with all of these losses, with not a ton of cap space. They're going to need to find a way to get even better, and that's going to be very hard.
Yeah, I really thought that this was the year that Baltimore is going to break down the door. I thought they were the best team in the AFC. They have home field throughout. Lamar's playing at an MVP level the entire season. Looks awesome. Your defense is balling out. And then at the end of the day, you lose at home to Mahomes and the Chiefs, who have been there a million times before.
At home, and it's just at home is what's so frustrating.
What's so unfortunate, as long as you have Lamar Jackson playing like Lamar Jackson, I will say, despite Burrow coming back, Baltimore is probably still the favorite in my eyes to win the North. But the shameful part is you lose at home in the AFC Championship to Patrick Mahomes, and now you have a lot of guys who won't be on that roster. And that's a shame to me in terms of a broader AFC picture, not just the AFC North.
Because, they had such a deep, that's the thing. You might lose some of the depth, too. I think a lot of these guys are going to wind up coming back to Baltimore. So I'm not particularly worried about them fielding a very competitive team again next year. And this isn't going to sound, this isn't something that Ravens fans are going to want to hear. But the issue with them, I think, comes down more to just getting the job done. You know what I mean? Like, you have these big opportunities. This team is going to be great again next year. And Lamar should be very good again. And you could always improve it by bringing in other pieces. And we'll talk more about some guys they can go after. But I look at the Ravens and I say, this is a team here that just has that, the hiccups in their mind, basically, when it comes to these big games. Think of how close they were to going to the Super Bowl. If Zay Flowers gets in the end zone there at the end, who knows? Maybe they come back and win that game. It's just a lot of little things went wrong. And that always seems to happen in the playoffs, that something goes wrong to a team that dominated.
I mean, if you told me you needed 20 points to go to the Super Bowl, I probably would have said they're going to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
The big thing I'm going to be watching is we saw this year what Lamar Jackson was able to do when you put some weapons around him.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Ravens, that's going to be one of the key areas they're looking to improve, right? Because right now, all they really have is Zay Flowers and Nelson Aguilar. Odell's a free agent.
They got Bateman, right?
Yeah, Bateman's there, but he's had so many health issues.
Yeah.
And he's never broken out quite like how you would want. Adding a third elite playmaker next to Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews, that's not Isaiah Likely, I think can make a real difference for this team.
Yeah, I was listening to a Ravens podcast today, just as we were preparing for this show briefly, and they were talking about Bateman. I really think Rashad Bateman is someone who's very good when he plays, but half the time it feels like he's not on the field.
Yeah.
And even when he plays, I've never gotten, maybe it's because I don't watch Ravens games incredibly intently during the season, but I never get the vibe.
I mean, he put up 350 yards last year. He put up less than 300 the year before.
Like the Ravens guys on the show were saying, with Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman, it's a good foundation. And it is. It's solid. But I'd like to see them add, like you said, Ziggy, add to that Mark Andrews and Zay Flowers core there. And what I keep seeing, and I'm not sure how I feel about it, is that the Ravens are going to take a swing at the running back market. And I think, I know that was my reaction too. This is really
why?
Good. Well,
dude, Dobbins and Gus.
Well, Edwards is a free agent, but I don't think people gave enough attention to Keaton Mitchell getting hurt last year.
Oh yeah,
like that was a huge blow to them. They really dropped off rushing the football with Gus and Hill. Even though Edwards was great against me in fantasy, but that was about it. I wouldn't mind seeing them make a run at Derrick Henry if they can get it at an affordable price and kind of have that thunder lightning with Mitchell and Henry. But a lot of people are talking about going after Saquon or Josh Jacobs, and I don't think they need to be spending their money in that space, even though I think Saquon's one of the best 3 running backs in football. If you can get a cheap Derrick Henry, now all of a sudden, okay, that'd be kind of fun to see what Henry looks like next to Lamar Jackson.
You also have, Lamar's a running back also.
No, he is.
I wouldn't break the bank for any sort of running back.
No. But if you can get Henry at a reasonable price, what is he? They're about 30 years old. Have a Super Bowl shot. I can see that being a good pairing.
Yeah, I'd rather go after a guy like Henry than a guy like Saquon for much more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What do you think, Ziggy? Is that a if you were in the Ravens front office, would you even be looking at any of these running backs?
If they're willing to sign on a ring chasing deal, fine. But the defense has a lot of needs. The offensive line has a lot of needs, right? I mean, You talked about Ziegler leaving. Morgan Moses, he was okay, but I think the Ravens will be looking for an opportunity to move on.
Same deal with Stanley. Stanley's getting a little older, big cap hit.
Yeah, they could move on from Stanley, but I mean, he's the best player on that.
Oh, they will move on from him, but just that.
Yeah,
that
you
line.
need there when your big needs are offensive line and almost every position on defense. A luxury free agency spending at running back, I think, just doesn't make a lot of sense. Take that money. If you really want to use it on offense, get some receiver and move on with your life.
Move on with your life. Yeah, I think I don't think they're going to ultimately go and get one of those running backs. I think having Mitchell will be
Mitchell's a good back.
Yeah, no, Mitchell was awesome.
Yeah,
look at
yards explosive.
Per carry. Look at yards per carry. It's like Achane and Mitchell were the two guys who had quite a few carries last year. They were averaging I think what was Achane? Wasn't he 15 or he was some absurd amount of yards per carry? Might have been 8. But the two of those
Achane was 7.8. He broke the records, but Mitchell was great too. He was 8.4, but on only 50 carries.
Yeah, but 50 carries, 8.4 yards. I mean, that was insane.
That's outrageous. Yeah.
I think bringing him back is a huge piece that not a lot of I guess national shows that talk about the Ravens are mentioning. They're getting back one of the most explosive running backs in the league from last year, and I thought he changed the offense and it completely wiped their team when he left, at least on the ground. But yeah, that's I think Baltimore will be really competitive again next year. It was such a well-run organization.
Oh, yeah, to me, as much as I hate to say it, they're probably the favorites in the North once again.
Yeah,
ahead of Cincinnati.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. They'll be back with the defense. They got a lot of young guys on that team too who can just flat out ball. But good time to be a Ravens fan, as always, right?
Sure is.
All right, let's talk about